June is Men's Mental Health Month, and I want to reflect on the struggles of advocates in early practice years. This is 0 to maybe 3 years of admission, and I'm now over 10 years post admission, but I recall some of the things which I struggled with when I was in this category of young advocates, 0 to 3 years experience. And at that time, when you've done Kenya School of Law and hopefully you've passed, the first struggle is pupillage, and it doesn't come easy, and a lot of people tarmac, a lot of people take so long to find a place, and it takes a toll on you. I didn't have that challenge. I was lucky to be working from the time I graduated. A good friend and mentor took me to a friend of his who had a law firm, and I got a job as an intern, and I worked throughout Kenya School of Law, and that's where I did my pupillage. But I remember the struggles then, even as I was interning and through pupillage. One of the main one was financial. The pay was little. The pay, I think, was just I think it was called an allowance to get you maybe even fare, or I don't think we'll cover fare and food. So we're paid very little. I think the first struggle was getting suits or official clothes to wear to the internship and pupillage. And I remember my friends and I, a few young men from Nairobi University, went to the second-hand clothes market at Gikomba, and I recall we picked from different batches of blazers and trousers, trying to get matching color to make that into a suit. It was affordable. I think a blazer would be 100 shillings, a trouser would be 50 shillings, but you have to really search from a pile somewhere on the ground, on the floor, and you could get lucky and find something which is close to your feet, and the colors sort of almost similar, but of course the shade is the shades will be different. So I remember that was a struggle, and it didn't feel like a bad thing that it was the options we had. I had I think one good suit from my graduation, which my parents bought me. That was the suit for turning up, and I love that suit. It was a nice brown suit I bought at Isili. It felt like it was flowing through my body, and I felt like one of those Boston Legal or suits guys with that suit. But the rest of them, they were not very well fitting. Some were properly oversized. The shades were not really good. And I remember the guys at this Muthurwa, and the guys at this second-hand clothes market, Muthurwa, Gikomba, they knew how to get us to buy the blazers and jackets. They will take the labels of these very high-end suits and sew them onto the blazers on the sleeves. So you find a Mark and Spencer sticker, and you feel like you've gotten a very high-end suit. We used to have, I think, Super 100 or Super 180 or one of those, I don't know. And they will really explain that, this is the camera quality, this is the one. And you buy and you feel very confident. I look at some of the photos from back then, and we felt nice then. But they were really cheap suits, but we felt nice. That was a struggle. getting outfits, getting even good shoes which you can show up to the office with. Bought them the same way, second hand, because we always believe those are the quality ones and they will last. And I remember that's how we started. Another struggle would be where to eat. Your office could be in a high-end place, maybe TBD, maybe these other emerging locations like Westlands or Upper Hill, and your allowance or salary cannot afford you a decent meal in a decent place, so you will go to these informal kiosks, what we call your bandaski, then, and that's where you will be eating. So you come from lunch back to the office and you smell of smoke, because where you're eating, you're just eating next to where the food is being cooked, and they're cooking using firewood, and yeah, and that's a struggle. But it was okay. We didn't see that as suffering. We were happy to have a job. Also, you're from school, you've learned all the principles and theory and what have you of law, and you're eager to show how smart you are. But there's no way to take all that information or to show off, because none of the assignments which before you require any of the things you've learned in school. You even wonder why you went through learning all of that, and you actually have to unlearn most of them for you to be able to just focus on delivering the assignment before you. So yes, learning the job. If you are lucky, you'll have a patient supervisor, I would say, who's of course a lawyer, who will teach you and will try to help you to learn. I was lucky to have a lot of those. If you are unlucky, you'll have an impatient boss or supervisor, and they will always shout at you and have expectations that you would already know what you're supposed to do. I remember one time, one of the associates I was working with, we drafted some documents, and when the boss reviewed them, they were not up to standard or the expectation, but we had a lot of pressure to work on a lot of documents. This was for bank recoveries in a very short space of time, and we of course had many errors in those documents. But I remember the boss took it out on me, the junior, while the associate was seated there, and they're the ones who ought to have taught me or known better. So interesting times. That was a struggle, being a newbie, not knowing, and the learning curve is steep, and trying to keep up with the demands of the office. And another struggle is change of your social life, because in school you had more time to more free time to go do things, hang out with friends, chill, enjoy your hobbies or what have you. But when you're at work now, you might find yourself working from very early. I remember in no time, as soon as I started working, I would have to work before the sun rises, and I would leave after the sun sets, and that really changed my social life. I didn't have time to interact with a lot of people, and even when now at School of Law, that got worse. You don't have a life in that period. And after admission, the struggle is to try and find a place where you get a decent pay and there's a promising career trajectory. And we all had all these fancy law firm names, the big law firms which you wanted to work for, and not everyone could land there. I remember when I started off, my friends were there, and I was in a smaller firm, and I enjoyed my smaller firm, but I always thought the progression should be towards those big firms, and so the struggle is to try and get there. And yeah, I remember sending a ton of applications and receiving, I think, 2 responses. I was lucky one of those was a good opportunity to to level up from the place I was, and I did. And the struggle then I got admitted at that farm. The struggle there was to raise my standard to the levels of that farm and to try catch up. So it was long hours, it was late nights, early mornings, almost no social life. And that's what it took to try and get to learn as much as possible, get to deliver quality output and learn very quickly. And I think the other struggle is still financial, because the pay as a junior associate is not so much, and we're trying to make do with that to do a lot of things. Maybe up to that point you are living with your parents or guardians or whoever it is, but now you want to move out. So where do you go stay? I didn't have that struggle. I was already living away from my parents' house by the time I was in School of Law. And I remember a lot of us were living in the periphery of town, and most of us picked Rongai. Rent there was more affordable. Many other places in Ngong, Thika Road, and you will, of course, that is very far from the place you work, town or Westlands or whatever it is. So the struggle also will be traffic. Especially if you're in Rongai, there was so much traffic. So you'll have to wake up very early, maybe leave the house before 5:30, and every minute after that, every 5 minutes, fare increases. You leave the house, think if you get to the stage by 5:30, fare will be maybe 20 shillings to town then. And every 5 minutes it raises by 10 bob. By the time it gets to 6, fare is 70. So waking up early may not be just a decision that you're a hard worker, but also it's a financial decision you get to save. In the evenings, I think the struggle was the same. If you go to the stage early, fare will be higher. I think then maybe it was 70 shillings or 80 during rush hours. If you go there later, after 7, around 8, it will be back to 30 or 20 even. So you will leave home early, get back late, and I enjoyed cooking, so I will cook, and I think it also helped to save, because eating out every day was also expensive. Other struggles I remember is trying to also manage dating life, and with all this busy schedule and trying to find time to date as well, I think it wasn't easy to find that time. And I think for many people now in that age bracket still struggle with that. I don't know how people manage relationships, and I think that was a struggle, because the expectation is that you will be looking to settle down within the next couple of years. If you have been admitted, then maybe within 3-5 years or so you need to settle down. So of course, for you to settle down, you need to date. And so dating also is difficult because you don't have time. What time do you date? And if you try to sacrifice and find time, then your work suffers also. So what to do? I think a lot of people find themselves in that dilemma. The other struggle is now you're working. Now people expect you have money. Now you're a big city lawyer. So you and your small salary, people are calling you at end month to tell you all manner of problems, to ask for all manner of things, and you don't have the money. They don't know that, or if they do, they don't care. So it's a lot of pressure. And also, now that you're a lawyer, those suits you bought secondhand are not good enough anymore. So you need to level up. You need to get better suits. You need to dress like an advocate, yeah, and you are now admitted to the bar. So I remember finding one of my colleagues at the place I worked, a lawyer also, who was always wearing sharp suits, and he took me to a tailor, a Luo tailor, who was Luo tailors. I'm not being tribal. They're known for good quality outfits and suits, especially, I think. So it took me to his tailoring shop, if I can call it that, somewhere in town, in Tavetalen, and it was in basement 4. I didn't think buildings go that deep. And you get in, the last time you see light is before you get into the entrance. And once you start going down the stairs, I think you breathe air which has been there for the last 10 years. And it's a different smell down there. And he's working with a bulb which is flickering, and his workstation is right behind his seat. He turns and he's got pieces of jackets which are unfinished, which he needs to piece together. It's chaos when you get there. But the suit he makes were good. Once you wear it, no one knows where you got it from. And I think for 3,000, you'll be able to get a suit, because he will charge, I think, 2,000 for his labor, and we will buy materials. At that time, I was small enough to, I think, have only, was it 2.5 meters or 3 meters of material? It was enough to make a suit. And we'll go to those shops which sell these materials with a tailor, and you'll pick and they'll go back and stitch. I remember he made 2 suits very quickly, and I was very happy. And those are the suits which upgraded me for the first time. But the new suits after that, oh man, the guy took months. I think it was an introductory thing. But yeah, that's another challenge of being a junior at that time, and trying to look good. I remember my boss then was very clear that you cannot look like problems. You're an advocate, you must look the part, you have no excuse. No one cares what your problems are. They will judge you from what they see. And if they don't see anything good, then you also don't get ahead. You get judged on however drabby you look. If you look sharper, well, you get ahead. So, yeah, I remember that's how we made do and try to look the part, try to work hard, try to have relationships, try to manage our own expenses, responsibilities. As young advocates, those struggles are not easy. So my heart goes out to you guys.